God was thinking of me when I was an atheist in a foxhole. All the flying bullets, explosions, and parachute jumps didn't open my eyes. 10 years of beating up my body and soul didn't show me what God had in store. Growing up, there really wasn't religion, so to speak, in the household. When I was about 13, I started to kind of investigate it for myself, thought about it. For me, that didn't make sense. And at that point, I really started to consider myself an atheist. I made the decision when I was about 17, my senior year of high school, that I wanted to join the military. I wanted to be a paratrooper. That was my sole goal when I first went in. When I got out of the military, I moved to Cheyenne, Wyoming, because that's where I'd gotten divorced, and that's where I needed to be in order to fight for custody of my sons.
Ron and I were introduced by a fellow co-worker.
We dated for 5 years before we ever got married. We never moved into it together, and that was something in Sherry's faith. Sherry had become a Christian.
From the moment that God showed up in my life, I knew that I'd been forgiven, and He took my life, which was a train wreck, and He brought me back to life.
So when we got here to Omaha, my boss at the time, again, him and his wife and kids, they attended Christ Community, and our first Christmas here, they actually invited Sherry to the Christmas service. And, well, they invited both of us, but my boss kind of knew that I probably wasn't going to show up. She was a little apprehensive when she first showed up at the size of the church, but she quickly came to realize that even though it was a big church, she was noticed and she was welcomed. I would come with Sherry on occasions. I just didn't feel like I was really getting anything out of it, but I did feel a sense of community, a sense of everybody belonging, and it was a warm feeling.
April 10th, 2014 at 2 o'clock in the morning.
By the time we woke up, the entire outside wall of the kitchen on our upper deck was completely engulfed. I climbed up the ladder to the upper deck on the outside with a garden hose, came across the deck. I didn't have to open the door because the glass from it had melted out. So I just stepped through the patio door into the kitchen with the garden hose and was trying to spray water up in the ceiling. A ceiling fan above me that was on fire fell, glanced off of my left shoulder, hit the floor. About that time, we finally heard that the fire department was there. The funny thing was this whole time, all I had on was a pair of pajama bottoms. I was completely barefoot, I had no shirt on, but I walked out without a scratch. Sherry had reached out to Pastor Paul Gadden.
Paul came and walked through the house with us, and then went over to the hotel, and he prayed with us.
I think it was the first time that I really heard a prayer that impacted me.
And that's when it says, do you think the Holy Spirit was stirring in your soul? And it wasn't one of those, oh, Sherry, not this again. It was like kind of a acknowledgement.
Following Sunday, we came to church. It happened to be a day of communion. And as the elements were passed around, I just instinctively took the elements. I sat there looking at it while Mark prayed for communion, and I took the elements. And the whole time, Sherry's kind of watching me. And afterwards, she's like, do you realize what you just did? I said, yeah, I think I do. She goes, is there something you want to tell me? Are you ready to take that next step? Have you accepted Christ? And I said, yeah, I think I have. She led me to Christ that exact day. The following Sunday was Easter. And the theme that Easter was crossing the line. They asked everybody who was ready to give their lives to Christ to come up, cross the line, and write their name on the stage with a piece of chalk. And I got up and I did that Easter. Even when I was at my point of there's no such thing as God, it just doesn't exist, there's nothing more after this, I fully believe that he was there. I know he was standing next to me in the room with the bullet in the back of the helmet. I know he was standing next to me there in the elephant grass in Panama. I know he was there with me disarming an RPG in Saudi Arabia or Iraq at the time. I know he was there with me in Mogadishu, Somalia, as I was moving through the streets under fire. I know he was there. I may not be able to convince you that God's thinking of you. I may not be able to prove it to you, but when you know, you're gonna know. I honestly don't know any other way to put it. God's there, and when you're ready, he's gonna let you know he's there.